All right. I want to thank everybody for being here. This is our Stay Healthy at Home webinar series. Today, we are going to be talking about financial literacy, and we are joined by Rob Kimmel, MAT, BCBA, CESP, and Rob is a Training and Consultation Specialist at the Boggs Center on Developmental Disabilities. He is also on the board of NJSAP. We are also happy to be joined by Elizabeth Jennings from the National Disability Institute. Elizabeth is the Deputy Director of National Disability Institute, which is a national nonprofit with a mission to improve the financial futures of people with disabilities.
All right. Welcome, everyone, and very excited to be here. And thank you for inviting us. And I'm really looking forward to speaking to this topic. I know Elizabeth and I, we are very passionate about this and believe that this is something that we should be talking about a lot more. And I'm glad for all of you that have tuned in today, as well as those that tune in the future as this is being recorded to learn more about financial literacy, learning, earning, and saving, how to do it and what it could mean for the future. Before we get really into the thick of it, because we have a lot to cover in a relatively short time, I did want to hand this over to Elizabeth to talk a little bit about the National Disability Institute.
Hey, thank you so much, Rob. Thank you to all of you at NJSAP and to everyone who's joined on the line today. I'm really thrilled to be with each of you to talk about this important topic. For those of you who are not familiar with National Disability Institute, we're pretty unique as a national disability nonprofit because our focus is on the financial futures of people with disabilities. And we do that by looking at cutting edge research and innovations around going to work, staying at work, managing public benefits, and of course, looking at financial literacy, financial coaching, financial counseling, and financial services that allow you to just have the best financial life possible, no matter where you're starting. So thank you again for inviting me here today, and I look forward to being with all of you.
Thank you, Elizabeth. And then for me, I'm coming from a couple different roles as a trainer at the Boggs Center, and I see some familiar names here today that have come to other trainings and other events, but I'm also here as a representative of NJSAP. And NJSAP is the Association for People Supporting Employment First, which is an understanding that employment first and competitive integrated employment is a first and preferred outcome for all peoples with disabilities. Work gives us so much. It gives us a place of belonging. It gives us community. It gives us purpose. It gives us money. And that money allows us to access so many other opportunities. And NJSAP is the only nonprofit membership organization, professional membership organization, that's mission is to push for employment first throughout the state of New Jersey. And then APSE is a larger national organization, is all about doing that around the country. We definitely want to see more individuals with disabilities become part of our membership base. And we are happy to come here to talk to you a little bit about why employment's so great, and then financial literacy specifically, how that money that comes from work propels us into these financial futures that Elizabeth's talking about. So we would love to see you join our ranks at APSE, and you could do so by following apse.org. You see it on the slide in front of you. And yeah, I hope to see you join us there and get involved in some of the great work that we do to push forward employment first. And so employment first says that employment's this great thing. Jobs are a great thing. Getting a job, having a career, great thing. And we talk about how employment does so many awesome things for us. But I want us to ask, how does employment make us more independent or successful or achieving or able to access opportunities? And when we think about how work does that for us, a lot of it comes down to the money that we make. Going to work, doing this purposeful, meaningful activity results in money. And that money matters for the future. for us to be independent, to use our money to pay for the bills, to pay for the place that we live, the food that we eat, to be successful at work. You can move up the ladder, therefore making more money or having more responsibility. You can achieve, be a part of a group, be a part of a purposeful project. And by saving money from work, you're able to access opportunities that you wouldn't have before. So when it comes down to the money component of work, how we use the money, how we save the money, how we manage this money is just as important as being at work and doing the work and having the job. The future is the next step to make us more independent, and how we manage our money is very important. So honesty to on. If this was a touch screen here, I want to slide us to on. And there's two important questions that I would pose to all of you. Do we really need training to manage our money? Like, okay, I get money, I can use some of it here, I'll put some of it in the shoebox. Do we really need this training? And then some of you may be thinking, numbers, math, fear, no thank you. Could we even understand this? I didn't understand it in school. Why would I want to talk about it now? Someone can just help me with that. These two important questions, though, I want to address right off the bat. Do we really need it, and could we understand it? The answer is absolutely. Absolutely. There are things that we can do, behaviors that we can engage in, good practices that we can do that can put us in a much better place with our money and managing that money for the future. So I'd like you to swipe that disbelief. If you had it on before, swipe it off. We can do this. And I want to put a note out there for those of you that are not your own legal guardians in relation to financial decisions. Some of you may not be in charge of the financial decisions, and that a guardian that supports you does that. That's totally fine, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't be a part of these conversations or thinking about these important topics, because guardianship does not remove your voice. Guardians are legally required to keep you involved in the process to the highest degree that you are able. Being able to express your wants and desires and your thoughts for the future are an integral part to financial literacy, because what you spend your money on is what you value. So if this kind of training or talk about financial literacy in general makes you feel, I don't know, like this, like running away, don't worry, that's why we're here. We're going to break it down and really discuss some of these things to a place where we can be comfortable. So what exactly is financial literacy? It's a fancy way of saying understanding our money, managing our money, making smart choices with our money. So budgeting, saving, taking care of our responsibilities, and paying the bills. Because if you don't, you could end up broke, hungry, wondering where your money went, and very stressed out. Would you agree, Elizabeth? Goodness gracious, yes.
I 100% agree, yes.
Mm-hmm. And to get us a little bit closer to the place that we want to be, we'll take it 3 steps at a time. Pretend that I'm selling you this thing online. It's the easiest 3 steps. First, we improve our money values, talking about what it means meaningful to us and then how our money meets that. 2, setting goals and making a budget, step 3. So money values, when I say money values in general, values are ideas, beliefs, and attitudes about things that are important to us. And my values are going to be different than Elizabeth's. They're going to be different from yours. And that's okay. That's okay for us to all believe in things differently, of differing importance. Where we take our money then, though, and where we spend our money is often in line with our values. Like, we want this, we think this is important, so we're going to spend our money toward that. And when you choose to spend your money, it reflects your money values, reflects what you think is important. And so what we have here is a worksheet that we developed at the Boggs Center just to kind of talk a little bit about what's important to you, and maybe what are the things that you spend on. What are the things that you would spend your money on that are connected to that value? And it's really a brainstorming document that allows you to see, like, is my money going to the things that matter to me? If you have a smartphone, there's a QR code here that you can scan and download this particular worksheet. And it's a great conversation starter, especially when you're having conversations with, a parent, a guardian, a support coordinator, anyone that might be involved with the financial component of your future. Being able to talk about the things that matter to you and having them written down ahead of time is a great way to keep the conversation on track for where you want to see your future. And this is just one example of ways to brainstorm and talk about the things that are important to you. Elizabeth has shared with me some other resources from the National Disability Institute. I want to give her a moment to be able to talk to those things.
Sure, thanks, Rob. So when we get to the resource section, we'll provide you with a link to resources on National Disability Institute site. I want to encourage you to explore, in particular, the Financial Resilience Center. That's kind of just-in-time information, but if you're looking to do planning, like you might use this choices and values sheet to do, there are there's a section called resources, and in there's a tools section where you, and you can share it with anyone you like, can use the tools to help you think through some of the financial choices that you have to make, and then how you might be able to get additional support in, if needed, in rolling out your plan for building your financial future.
Thank you, Elizabeth. And when we had gone over that resource center, I wasn't familiar with that particular resource from the National Disability Institute, and I think it's phenomenal. I think it's something that everybody should really get on the train for. It's so thorough, it's so well done, and I think Elizabeth and I were talking about it. It might be one of those best kept secrets for people with disabilities across the nation. There's this great resource, and not a lot of people know about it. So I'm really happy that we get to talk about it here today. All right, so now I have a rule of thumb. Thumb the first, King Thumb, ruling over all of these other thumbs. The first rule that I'd like to talk about when it comes to managing money. We've talked a little bit about the things that could be important to us, money values. Now, how do we look at the money that's coming in from the work that we do and say, how do I begin to manage this? So a rule of thumb is this video that I want to show you. In fact, though, I believe I might not have shared it with sound. So just a moment. I didn't. Technology is great, but only when it works. All right, here we go.
Budgeting and saving are easy concepts to grasp if you keep the 50-30-20 rule of thumb in mind. 50% of your after-tax take-home pay should go towards needs like housing, transportation, and food. 30% of your income should go towards wants like cable, Starbucks, vacations, and dinners out. And 20% of your after-tax take-home pay should go towards financial priorities like an emergency fund, debt reduction, and retirement. There's no time like the present to train your savings muscle. Just remember 50-30-20.
So this is the first rule of thumb, thinking about the money that comes in from the work that you do or will be doing in the future. The 50-30-20 rule. There's the money that you have, that you'll get, your usable income. So 50% for needs, 30% for wants, 20% for savings. We don't shame calculator use, by the way. Feel free to break out those calculators. It's important, though, to think about dividing our money in this way from the beginning, before we start work or when we just start work, because we can start to plan out a future for what that money can do for us. So usable income. Remember, though, when you are first starting work, or you're getting paid by the hour, or you're getting paid a certain salary, in both cases, taxes do get taken from the work that you do. So you can't depend on, okay, I'm making $15 an hour. I work 10 hours. That means I have $150. It's not quite like that. Those 10 hours work, then 150, you'd be reduced somewhat because of taxes. So we need to know exactly what is coming in. So that would be our net income, our usable income. And then looking at that 50%, if we take our money and we say half of this has to go to needs, the things that matter, what are the things that matter? So a need is a thing required for your survival. Food, water, shelter, or items that you need to keep those other needs. So for example, if you need a car to make sure that you have the ability to have food and water, that car becomes a need. So these are things that are needs. They are non-negotiables. They are things that you must take care of if you want to be an independent person. And there are times that there's things that we really want, that are really important to us, that are really meaningful. But it's important to have conversations with ourselves and with those around us to deeply consider if this thing that I'm about to spend my money on, is it a need that will keep me alive, or is it an important want? There is a difference there. And when push comes to shove, when money is tight, it's important to know the difference between those two. From there, what is a want? And it's anything that you can obtain by source that is not a need. And also, sometimes it might be what's called an unnecessary dimension of a need. An example of this would be if you need a car because you need a car to get the food and water. If you need a car, you don't probably need the Porsche or the Mercedes or the Range Rover. That's an unnecessary dimension. They're way more money than the trustworthy Toyota Corolla. And no, Toyota's not paying me any endorsements, but I just wanted to point out that being responsible with our money also involves choosing things that are more budget conscious and friendly. So a want can also be that unnecessary dimension. And this is the hardest thing for people to separate, the difference between a need or something that they really want when you're trying to budget. Would you agree, Elizabeth? I know I struggle with this.
Yeah, I would just also add, thanks, Rob, that some folks had put in the chat, like, hey, one of the things I value is video games. And a lot of us value entertainment. And certainly over the past couple of years, we found ways to entertain ourselves at home. That's a great want. But you need to have electricity in order to have that want. So sometimes these really go hand in hand. And it's a good reminder to not feel that you can't want those things, but to keep in mind what you need to make sure you have so that you can also have the want that, you know, use the want. And so understand that they go hand in hand. So no need to feel like, hey, it's not fair. I can't have the things I want. I have to do the things I need. We need those things to actually do the things we want to do.
I think that's an excellent point, Elizabeth. I think that's an excellent point. I know I love my movies, but you can't have movies without a streaming service or the electricity that takes care of your internet and your TV and a variety of other things in your home. And money is the thing that takes care of all of them. So being able to spread that money around, take care of needs and wants matters a lot. All right, and back to the PowerPoint. All right, so the last part, that 20%, is about saving money. And this is something that is difficult for most of the United States. This isn't something that's just specific to people with disabilities. This is something that's a struggle for every single person. And why is it so difficult to save money? Sometimes it's not a priority. Some people don't think that it's that important or that matters. Another reason might be you don't get paid enough. If your needs and your wants take all of the money that you make, you might not be getting paid enough to be able to save. And that is a reality that a lot of people struggle with increasing costs for stuff. Personal excesses. So I may be able to pay for the needs, but my wants might be so excessive. I'm spending so much money on the fancy movie trip. I'm spending so much money on a vacation or whatever it is, new clothing. And these personal excesses may be some of the reason why I can't save money. And then that's just silly, the burning it for fun. But money and saving money can be difficult. Prioritizing it and knowing that it's important, which is part of this training in general, is us telling you, and hopefully you recognizing that saving money matters. And we'll show you why. It's important to save money because you might not always have a job. So saving money and having that for future needs and wants is important, because what happens when you lose that work? You'll still need money to take care of all those needs and wants. And some of you may receive benefits, state benefits, and those aren't guaranteed forever. So being able to have a nest egg, savings, an ability to put money away is another way to have financial security. So to make sure that you have money saved away. Paying off debt and avoiding interest. We're going to talk more about interest in a little bit, and debt as well. But paying off debt, debt is when you owe somebody money. And when you owe people money, that amount of money that you owe them can increase over time. And that could be something that's really hard to get rid of if you leave it alone. So using that money, that extra that we have in savings to take care of debt, to reduce that or get rid of it, is a very important and healthy part of being financially free and being able to save for things in the future. Safety net for unexpected things that you have to pay for. And another and last important point for saving money is that there's things that you may want to do that require lots of money. And you can't just pay for it all at once. When you want to get that car, when you want to go on that trip, it might require saving money over a longer period of time to reach that goal. But that goal will be so worth it. And hence why saving is important. And so one of the things that I want to bring to your attention, if you are not aware of it already, is that automation is a process that exists. So automation is segmenting your paycheck. If you have work, you get a paycheck. You can fill out a form for automation of your paycheck where it separates your paycheck and sends it to different accounts. So when you have an account at a bank, you might have a checking account, a savings account. What you could do is you could set your paychecks up so that they're sending money from that paycheck, part of it into your savings account, part of it into your checking for spending, and part of it in other place. When you fill out that form and you fill it out once at the beginning of your work, you could be doing this 50-30-20 right from the get-go. And so your paycheck will already be separated. So you're already saving the 20. You've already got money now here for your wants. And this part here is put away somewhere else for your needs. This way, you're removing an extra element that you have to plan for or to monitor because it's already being done. And this is a great thing to talk about with parents, guardians, a job coach too, if they're supporting you in the orientation process at work. And it can build up very quickly over time. So got my little vault here. It opens the door. Boom. Look at all that money saved away, stored away there. That's what automation can do. From there, I have another success secret that I want to share, which involves when you have work, sometimes work comes with the opportunity of a retirement plan. And what that retirement plan is saying is that part of your paycheck, part of the pay, the money that you're making is going toward this retirement plan. Now, it's not everybody's retirement plan. This is a retirement plan for you. This means that in the future, we're looking at the future for you. There is a pot of money that's going to be waiting for you. That's what the retirement fund is for. And some businesses do what's called percent matching. And that says that anytime you take a piece of your paycheck and put it in this retirement fund, the company wants to show that it's supporting you and your future by matching that amount of money. So you put in $5, they'll put in $5 up to a point. But that is it's a great opportunity when a business that you work with is offering retirement plans and offers matching. You can consider that even like an increase to the amount of money that you're making because they're giving you money over time for the future, just like you would be if you were saving that money. Elizabeth, did you have anything you wanted to add to this particular point?
Yeah, to both of those secrets,
Mhm.
I just want to share on secret number one. If you're on the line and you're thinking, I really don't have money to set aside in savings right now, that 50, 30, 20, I'm spending more than 50% on having my needs met. I would encourage you to see if you can set aside $5. It's not about how much money you're setting aside to begin with. It's about creating the habit of doing that, so that when you do get an increase, when you do get, maybe a roommate to share expenses with, when you do find a way to identify other savings you can set aside, your savings account is set up, it's making regular deposits, which helps, defer any cost at the bank. And then on secret number two, if you're afraid to save, or you don't use the retirement account because you want to hold on to, maybe you have an SSI benefit or a Medicaid benefit, then you might talk to your employer about matching a contribution into your ABLE account instead of a retirement account, so that, which I know we'll talk about in just a minute, but so that you can have that that secret to success that Rob talked about without having to sacrifice.
I think that's a wonderful point. I definitely think that we should be talking about that also during ABLE accounts. We're going to get to that, I promise. Promise. And thank you, Elizabeth. All right, so this part, slight alarm bells. There's some warnings that I want to talk about in relation to our understanding of money, of making it, and of spending it. So there's two things that we need to touch upon. And one of them is called compound interest, and the other is debt. And we're going to start with debt. Now, debt, I mentioned it earlier, is when we owe money. We owe money. We've taken money from, let's call it a credit card or a loan, or we've taken it from somebody. We've taken this money from somebody to pay for something, and now we have to pay it back. We are then in debt if we have to pay back money. And it happens all the time. People do it all the time. Credit cards are the biggest source of the creation of debt for every American. Loans for cars, for school, we have medical bills. Some of you may have rent or mortgage that you have to pay for. These are loans. These are things that we owe. These are debts that we owe. You may have taken out cash from a bank or from a credit card, and it's the cash advance. You're taking money, you owe the money to somebody. And what happens in all of these scenarios, all of these situations, is that compound interest can come into effect. And compound interest is the idea that you've taken money from me. For every day or week or month or year that you do not pay this money back, we're going to increase the amount that you owe us a little bit more, and a little bit more, and a little bit more. So it's in our best interest, all of us, that when we borrow money, that we pay it back as soon as possible. We're going to talk about minimum payments. Some of you have maybe seen minimum payments when you're paying for credit card bills or for loans. But this management of debt is an important part of financial literacy. It's an important part of managing our money. And so compound interest, that idea that if I owe $1,000 here in this yellow box here, if I owe $1,000, compound interest is 10%. 10% says that then that's $100 of my 1,000. The next time the bill comes around, if I don't pay that $1,000, it's going to be $1,100. And then the next time I don't pay that around, plus times 10% again, 110, add it to the 1,100. Now I owe 1,210. Do it again. Now I owe 1,331. So if we were looking at this as 3 months of not paying for a credit card and the compound interest piling up on the $1,000 that we spent, we now owe $300 more than we did before. That's why paying our bills is important. We can't just spend our money on all of the things that we want in the world when there's needs that we have to take care of, and debt management is a need. If we do that, if we take care of this, we don't have to worry about the compound interest because we won't have those extra charges building up. And On the flip side, compound interest also works in saving. So there's banks, there's different ways that we save in retirement accounts where there's interest rates attached to the things that we save. So that 10% there in the picture can work in our favor. If we take this $1,000 and put it in a place that's yielding 10%, then let's call this every month. Compound interest can work in our favor in that we can save and progressively build the amount of money that we've saved. So when you put it in the bank, the interest rate will say that, okay, you've left your money in the bank. The next month, it'll be a little bit bigger. And then the next month will be a little bit bigger. So think about how compound interest can work in your favor when we save, but it can also be something that we want to avoid when it comes to our debt. Elizabeth, how was that? Do you think I covered that? All right, very good. It can be a little complicated to talk about and discuss, but it's something that we should be talking about because we don't want to fall into what's called the minimum payment trap. On credit card bills that we get, or on many of the bills that we get, if we owe a larger amount of money, let's say we owe $1,000 on a credit card, there's always a minimum payment option where you can pay the $1,000, or you could pay this minimum payment of $22. And then you might be interested and think, wow, I can only pay $22 and I don't have to pay $1,000 right now. That's great. It's a trap. It's a trap because when you pay for the minimum payment on any of these things, what you're doing is you're paying for the interest. You're paying for the little bit extra that they put on there already. And you still haven't actually paid down any of the thing that you owe. So that means that every month there's still going to be this amount that you're not actually paying money against. You're only paying for the extra that they keep charging you. And then you're stuck in a place where you continue to owe more and more over time. So when you see those minimum payments, don't think that you should be budgeting to only pay for minimum payments because you'll end up having debt for long periods of time. And it's difficult. It's difficult. The more debt you have, the more difficult a lot of things become. So in this picture here, we have somebody that has less debt and someone that has more debt. And when we think about interest rates, that compound interest and how things aren't flat and level, but they start to get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger over time, that's kind of like going up a hill. And it's harder to go up a hill when you're carrying a lot of weight on you, and debt is that weight. So you have the big backpack on, you're trying to go up a hill. It's a lot easier when you have less on you. So you can think about debt that way. And we want to be shedding that debt, taking off that debt. And credit reports are something that exist. So a credit report is basically a report card. If you remember, you had report cards in school that said how well you did on a particular task or subject, and you got a grade for it. Those exist for adults as well that spend and save money, and those are credit reports. And they're run by these three companies that are on the side there: Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. And the idea behind these credit reports are that they make a report card for you based on how you spend your money and how you pay off your debts and bills. Do you do them on time? Do you take care of all of the debt, or do you have debt that's kind of sitting there in the sky that you haven't taken care of? And all of these things affect the number that they give you. And the higher your number, the closer to 850 on this little scale here, you're going to be really close to excellent. And a good credit rating, a good credit report, is equivalent to people trusting you more by being able to give you more opportunities with your money. And when you have a worse credit score, when you're in the 500s, 400s, 300s, you're in the red, people are less trusting with giving you opportunities. So if you're looking at getting that apartment, you want to move out, you want to be independent and move out, get your own apartment, a new place to live will do something called run your credit report. So they might look at your report card and see, can I trust this person to pay their rent, to pay for the apartment that I'm going to give them. And if they see that you have a low number, they might not trust you. They might not trust you and say, I don't know if I want to give this person the opportunity to live here. And they might say, no, this apartment I can't give you. But if you have a good credit report, a good report card, they'll say, oh, they're doing really well with their bills. They're doing really well with the things that they're responsible for. And so I think they will also be responsible paying for this apartment. So these credit reports are very important, and it's important for you to know about them and to know what your number is. Elizabeth, did you have anything you wanted to add to this particular point?
I think, some of us as adults struggle with the idea of credit scores. And I just want to add that sometimes what happens is we avoid credit because we are afraid that we will take on more than we can manage. And what happens with that is you end up with a thin credit profile. It doesn't make your credit report better to never have any debt. So it becomes a little bit complicated. You want to think about opportunities where you are, where it would make sense to use credit in a way that you feel confident you'll be able to pay it back. So maybe you have a credit card that you use only when you're going to make a big purchase that you know you can pay back immediately that same month. So I would encourage you to, rather than say, this looks complicated, I'm just going to avoid credit altogether, for you to work with someone you trust to explore how can you use credit wisely so that you can have that good standing and show that you can be trusted with money.
That's an excellent point. I have many friends myself that try to avoid opening credit cards and using them because they don't want to look bad on their credit report. But if the credit report doesn't have any evidence of activity from you, then they can't know to trust you either. So it's important to be able to show that you can take on debt and then pay it off. That's what they want to see. All right, from there, and I'm very excited to talk about this particular topic because it is very connected to employment first and making sure that people with disabilities can enjoy competitive integrated employment. A common concern that comes around all the time is, how much can I earn though? And how many hours can I work before I lose my benefits? I don't want to lose my benefits. I need my benefits for my housing or my day program or for any community supports that I have, and even supports for supported employment. So I need to be very sure that it doesn't mess with that. Or some people are also motivated to the point, or afraid to the point that they'll say, I'm just not going to work because I'm afraid. So these are questions that come around all the time between work and benefits, and I want to make sure that we address them today, because all of these things can happen together, but there's information that I think needs to really get out there so that we can make sure everyone has a healthy financial future. So these concerns, how much can I earn and how many hours can I work? It's not a straightforward answer. It's not that simple, but it's not as scary as one might think. So first, I want to address what SSI is. There's many individuals that are supported by the Division of Developmental Disabilities Services, DDD services, and they do so because they have Medicaid, and that Medicaid is connected to SSI, which is a Social Security program called Supplemental Security Income. Now, SSI gives out monthly payments, cash payments, to people with disabilities who have low income and resources. So there is a cash component. And I want to talk about these two pieces separately. So first, SSI gives a cash benefit. SSI is also accompanied by Medicaid. So a medical provider, not a medical provider, a medical benefit that is connected with SSI. We have this image below, which is meant to kind of simplify that relationship, where SSI comes with a cash benefit, SSI is connected with Medicaid, and Medicaid, it is through Medicaid that those of you that are receiving DDD services receive those services. So by extension, making sure we keep SSI matters to many people, and it's very understandable. Oops, sorry. Sorry, everybody. I lost my screen for a moment. Sorry, technology is great, but only when it works. So just a moment, everybody. Sorry, everyone, PowerPoint crashed for me, and so now I'm bringing it back up. So
Great, then I'll
what?
just take, you got it,
Go ahead.
Rob? Okay.
Go ahead, keep going. I'm going to pull it up in just a moment.
Okay, well, we did have a question in the Q&A that I thought I would take a minute to answer if that's a good use of our time, unless you want to keep going.
Certainly, go for it.
So one of the questions that people had in the chat was this concern about saving money when you have one of these benefits you want to hold on to, like SSI or Medicaid. And I just wanted to remind you that number one, SSI and Medicaid have an asset limit of $2,000. So certainly we want to be careful if that's a benefit you need to hold on to, and you're just going to have a regular savings account in the bank. But to keep in mind, you do have some room to save. And then watch for what we're going to talk about in just a minute around ABLE accounts, because that's another way that you're going to be able to do that. So when you're thinking about money, and Rob goes over this, I just want to encourage you to be open to hearing that there's some ways you can do this, that you don't have to only be fearful. We're going to talk about some ways that you can use information to push past that fear.
Yes, and thank you, Elizabeth. We should be seeing the what is SSI slide now. Is that correct? Perfect, thank you. Moving from there to what Elizabeth was just pointing out. Some of you may know this already and some of you may not, but SSI, if you are using that and are connected to Medicaid through that, we talk about low resource and low income limits. Under SSI, they say that you must have under $2,000 in resources. There's some exceptions here and there to that number, but in general, it's still a very low number. And then from there, individuals must make under $841.25 in what's called countable income per month. If you're familiar with how much things costs in New Jersey, $841 a month would be difficult to near impossible to sustain independent living. So one might assume that under SSI, if I'm getting benefits through SSI and Medicaid through SSI, that it's not possible for me to work, or why should I bother? To that, I want to talk a little bit about how this actually works, because it's countable income. Because it's not so straightforward. I'm going to give you a scenario now on how this might work, a simplified version. So let's say this person, Sam, was not working and received $600 from SSI. So their cash benefit that they receive from SSI is $600. And they're also receiving Medicaid and the services that come with it. Sam recently, though, got a job. Awesome. Sam wanted to get out, wanted to be part of this community, has a work relationship, friends there, gets a job, and they earn $200. So they just started. Now that $200 that they earned, is that going to affect their benefits? Let's talk about what the countable income formula would look like. So that first $20 of any earned monies is ignored when it comes to SSI. And then an additional $65 is also ignored right off the bat. From there, there's many more exceptions beyond these, but these are the first three. Additional income after that point is going to be divided in half. So that Sam earned $200. If we minus 20, minus 65, we're down to 115. We divide it by 2. Now we're at 57.50. So now for countable income formula, if we're using nothing else, SSI is saying, okay, we're going to count $57.50 as what you earned this month. And we're going to deduct that from the $600 we typically give you in a month. So what happens then is that for that first month, Sam is working. Sam is happy. Sam is working. She's earning money. The SSI check that she gets each month is now going to be slightly reduced to now $542.50. But she also took home $200 from work. So if Sam was not working, she gets $600 from SSI. Now that she's working, she's getting a little bit less from SSI, but a lot more from work. So she's making $742.50 that month. So the way that this formula works is not saying dollar for dollar, you earn this much money, we're taking this much money from you. It is not how it works. It's meant to scale it out so that if just using these 3 deductions, Sam would need to earn in a month, I think, was it $1,285 in that month to zero out the cash payment. And only at zeroing out are we starting to even talk about losing those benefits. So you can earn quite a bit. You can work quite a bit and it not affect the benefits. That said, this can be very confusing. And so I recommend for literally every single one of you that is working or is looking to work to talk to a benefits consultant, talk to a benefits counselor. And there are resources that we're going to share shortly about that, but benefits consultation and talking about the public benefits assistance that you get and the work that you'd like to do in the future, that's an important conversation to have because you want to make sure that your benefits are protected, but you can still work. Because when it comes to a cash perspective, when it comes to how much money you make a month, employment is always going to be the winner. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. It's always going to come out on top because of the way the formula works. It's always going to net you more money to be active and working than to not. And when it comes to benefits and having SSI specifically, we can start to shift our mindset out of this fear-based place from losing benefits to shifting to graduating from needing SSI. Because if we're making more money from the cash benefit place than the cash benefit from SSI, it's not the money that's the issue. It's making sure that we can protect critical benefits like Medicaid. So if we can do that, right? If we can protect the benefits, why do we need SSI? And so let's talk about that. Let's talk about retaining Medicaid. I want us to graduate from this idea that we need to stay on SSI. You can graduate from SSI and retain your medical benefits. There are ways to keep the Medicaid coverage even after earning more and saving more than the limits imposed by SSI. There is a continuing Medicaid eligibility programs that were put in place. It's called 1619B, if you need the technical number, where these programs were created to allow individuals with disabilities to continue working and earning more than the $814.25 countable income a month, to save more than the $2,000 resource limit. I want to specifically talk about workability. It is a buy-in program where individuals with disabilities that are on SSI that are reaching the caps for income and for resources can buy into workability, this Medicaid program, and the resource limit shifts from that 2,000 to 60,000, where the income cap moves from that 814 a month to, I think it's roughly 5,000 or 6,000, and legislation that has just passed at the beginning of 2022, laws were just put in place that are changing that income cap and getting rid of it completely. So you can earn as much as you want or as much as you can in a month. You can take that promotion and earn more money. You could save more money and it would be all okay under workability. And lots of people don't know that this shift from SSI, the Social Security program, to workability is something that is possible and also something that Social Security and Medicaid like to see. They like to see people move from SSI into these programs because they're created to allow for these future pathways of saving, of earning, and of being parts of our community and our workforce. So I'm going to be providing handouts for this type of Medicaid eligibility, these programs that'll come with this slideshow. And I know that they will be housed with the New Jersey Self-Advocacy Project when this is put on their website. So look to those there when you're looking at this particular training, look for those handouts as well. But yeah, protecting those critical benefits is important. And for a long time, while we have these programs that change the income limits and allow us to earn more, what about saving? Even with workability, there is a resource cap. And if you're saving money, if you have an aunt, an uncle, a relative, somebody that decides to give you money, we want to make sure that your benefits are protected from this influx of money. And money is, it's a great thing, but it can also cause issues. So we want to make sure that we are well prepared to take care of and manage that money. So to protect critical benefits from resources, from having a lot saved, there used to only be something called special needs trusts. And special needs trusts are understandings around money that are created by lawyers to protect money and save it for specific needs for a person. So you or your family member or both of you may have in the past gone to a lawyer and said, I would like to create a special needs trust where I can put money away that will not be counted by Social Security as part of my resources. And they're expensive to set up, but they did for a time, they did for a time were the only tool possible to save lots of money and to protect people's benefits. That said, there is a newer option that has become available. As of 2013, legislation passed creating what's called ABLE accounts. And ABLE accounts are something like a college savings account. So it's a bank account that you can have where you can put money away. And it's for people with disabilities all across the nation that says that I can put money here and it's not going to count toward my resources for Social Security. These ABLE accounts were created with the knowledge that people were struggling to save money for the future and that everyone deserves the opportunity to save money for the future. So ABLE accounts are something that are relatively new in the grand scope of saving and protecting money and protecting benefits, but there's a lot of great information around ABLE accounts and how we can use them for people to get into work and to, as Elizabeth pointed out earlier, you can have parts of your paycheck automatically sent to ABLE accounts. You can ask employers instead of matching that retirement account to instead maybe match to an ABLE account, because then that extra money from the employer wouldn't be impacting benefits, but it would still be saving for your financial future. I'll step back here, and Elizabeth, would you like to speak more to that point?
Yes, absolutely. So, and I apologize, everybody. I was just taking a second to address something in the Q&A that came through. So I'm sorry, Rob. I don't want to answer the wrong question. Can you just state it one more time?
Not
I
a problem.
apologize.
Not a problem. We're doing a double duty here. We're trying to make sure we
Yeah.
cover all the bases. So for ABLE accounts, just why there's such a great new opportunity when it comes to saving.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. I thought so, but I didn't want to assume. Sorry, you all got a little peek behind the corner there. So we hope you'll take some time to look at ABLE accounts. The reason being is that for the first time, you're able to save money and it does not count against any federally funded public benefit. So if you're on SSI, it lets you save up to $100,000 in the ABLE account to be used for anything that improves your quality of life. And the list for that is really quite long. And if you're on SSDI, you don't have a savings cap under your Social Security disability benefit rules, but you may be holding on to a Medicaid waiver program, so those DDD services, or you may have another benefit, or you might just want the tax advantage of using an ABLE account. If you check out the ABLE National Resource Center, which we can put that link into the chat, they have a lot of resources to help you make decisions around ABLE accounts. And then given that you're in the state of New Jersey, your own home state of New Jersey provides an ABLE account program called savewithable.com, and we can put that link in the chat in just a minute. None of this means you have to use an ABLE account over a savings account. You just want to be thoughtful, or a pool trust or a special needs trust. You actually can use all of them at the same time. These are just different pathways for you to have the kind of savings options that you need based on your personal situation.
And it's great to have this tool in the toolbox. It was something that was very much, in my opinion, needed because of it presents a new way to save that's protected, but also is much more flexible than the special needs trust. Elizabeth pointed out that there's a very long list for what's considered quality of life improvements, and you can use the money from ABLE accounts in a very flexible way, unlike special needs trusts, which are often for very much medical or first-time home buying or school. So it's very, very limited. So savewithable.com, New Jersey. It's on the slide here, and we can also make sure to provide it in the chat. And so this brings us to some final points, and I want to give them to Elizabeth to talk a little bit about getting our head in the right space.
Great. Thank you so much, Rob. What an incredible bit of broad array of information you all have gotten today. But I was thinking that the information is one part, but you really want to take action with it. And taking action is something we can all struggle with. So I thought we'd give you a tool called Whoop, and we can whoop it up together. So let's go through this very quickly, given the time we have left. Whoop stands for Wish, Outcome, Obstacle, Plan. And so I'd like to encourage you to think of a wish. Think of something that's challenging, something is that you think is possible, but it's going to take some work to do. Think about a wish like that you could reasonably achieve in the next 4 to 6 weeks. So see if something comes to mind. The example I'm going to use is wanting to get rid of credit card debt, right? We talked about that a little bit. So the wish we're going to talk through is I want to get rid of credit card debt. So you're going to write that down. Now think about your wish coming true. What would be the best thing about getting this wish? Take a minute to think about how you would feel. You might say, I would feel a lot less stress. I would feel a lot less concern about what's going to happen. I would get less phone calls from debt collectors calling me to make payment on these credit cards. So you want to connect to that feeling that you would have. Now you want to turn to the outcome. What is the very best outcome? Imagine that possible outcome, right? You'd have a chance to improve your credit score. You would have a chance to maybe start looking at the next big financial goal that you have for yourself and how good credit could help you to make that happen. And now you want to think about other obstacles that are more inside of you. What are the obstacles you feel like maybe I'm afraid to look at how much debt I have? I'm afraid to talk to those debt collectors. I'm afraid and I'm ashamed to tell anybody about what's going on with my finances. I don't want people to think I'm not trustworthy or that I'm not able to manage my money. So think about all those internal things. Or maybe I just don't want to deal with this at all. I have to work. I have to figure out how I'm going to pay all the bills. I don't want to think about this at all. Think about all of those internal obstacles. And then let's make a plan using if-then statements to get past those obstacles. So for example, if I don't know where to start with all of this, then I will turn to someone I trust for guidance. If I'm afraid to share because I feel ashamed, then I will let that person know. I'm afraid to share this with you. I hope you cannot judge me. I need some assistance, and share it with them. If the debt collectors call me and I don't want to answer the phone, then I will write down the number and make a plan for calling them back. If I can't pay my credit card payments, then I will call the credit card company and ask them what to do when I can't make payment. You guys get the idea, right? So you go through a lot of different if-then statements because there's a lot of things that prevent us from getting the wishes that we want. And you can use this for anything in your life, relationships, jobs, getting things done on the job, seeking a new job, opening a bank account. Sometimes you'll find that it's not knowing what to do that creates the obstacle, and sometimes you'll find it's not feeling confident in taking the actions we need to take. So I hope you'll give it a try, and I hope it works well for you. Let's switch over to the last slide just so that you can have the last bit of resources we want to share with you today. So as mentioned, and as we put in the chat, there's a Financial Resilience Center at National Disability Institute. You can go there for just-in-time information on a broad range of resources, all related to your finances and related to work. There's also a tool out from the Department of Labor called Secure Your Financial Toolkit. And it's actually, I apologize, Secure Your Financial Future Toolkit. And this toolkit helps you see when you're looking for work, when you're obtaining your job, when you're thinking about leaving your job, and when you're retiring. And it helps you look at different financial considerations at each stage of your lifetime of working. And then finally, an organization in Pennsylvania called the Pennsylvania Assistive Technology Foundation created an incredible online financial education. So you got a great taste today with Rob, but if you want to learn more, you can go to www.studymoney.us. And the really incredible thing about this tool, it's called Sense and Sensibility, is that they know many people with disabilities get Social Security disability benefit, and they took that into consideration when they created this financial education. So you'll get financial education and even some benefits education as well. Thanks, Rob.
All right, thank you, Elizabeth. For those of you tuned in, our contact information is here also at the bottom of this slide. Don't be shy, feel free, reach out. We're very happy to answer questions here as well as in the future. Send us an email. We'd love to hear from you. With that, that's all, folks. And I hope that you enjoyed what we had to share, and we are happy to take questions. I'll be stopping the share now.
Rob, there are a couple of really good questions in the Q&A.
Sure.
And maybe I'll share it with you and you can answer it.
Right, let's see here. I am checking now. There was a lot of things to manage.
Yeah.
I went from 3 screens to
let
one
me share
here.
this one with you.
Sure.
But one person asked, they're kind of asking how would they get help understanding the difference between what Social Security is doing and what the Medicaid office is doing or Workability is doing, and understanding the work incentive. So how would they connect to an expert in New Jersey?
All right, so the first thing that I would recommend is for anyone that hasn't to get benefits consultation. And with that benefits consultation will be discussions and the sharing of information around these Medicaid eligibility programs. So benefits consultation is something that programs around New Jersey are now beginning to offer. But if you do not happen to have one nearby, or that your support coordinator may be able to connect you with, there is also a group called New Jersey Wins. New Jersey Wins covers a great deal of the state when it comes to benefits consultation, and they are a federally funded program to do exactly that. So we can share the New Jersey Wins link into the chat. And then when it comes to information in and around workability, it is available through DVR and DDD's website. They do talk about workability, and they can connect you in a lot of different ways to resources. We can also share resources with you to give you information around workability and how the differences between SSI and workability and when you shift. And we can provide those with the physical materials from today's event for New Jersey Self-Advocacy Project. All right, and then I'm looking.
Another question is, if I open an ABLE account, what bank account does that come out of? How does that work, that I have an ABLE account? Who is the bank that gives me my ABLE account?
Very good, very good. So each state has a different one. And even though we live in New Jersey, your ABLE account can be through Colorado, or it could be through New Hampshire. You have the option to pick and choose. And depending on what state you happen to get your ABLE account in, it might have different benefits. It might have different limits for how much that you can save in there versus say New Jersey or somewhere else. So each one is different. And when you go to the ABLE website, it'll tell you each of the banks in each of the states. And so those would be the banks that can provide you an ABLE account. It wouldn't be your
Great.
bank probably, and that's here in New Jersey.
Excellent.
And that,
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Elizabeth.
oh no, I was going to say, I think that's it. We answered all the questions in the Q&A.
As if anyone else has any other questions that you think of afterwards, please don't hesitate to reach out to us and we can forward them over. And I see one just popped up in the Q&A. Are there some agencies who can help a person with the ABLE account if the person has not any relatives or individuals to help with managing the account?
So when it comes to helping to set up the account, I know that a supported employment professional, if you have a job coach, if you're working with a supported employment agency, helping a person set up this account would definitely be within their purview. The continued maintenance of that account would probably not be, just because it is a person's personal account, and over time they may not work with that same organization for the long term, but it's definitely within the purview of a supported employment professional to help out. A support coordinator, if they have one, maybe also be able to help connect them with an agency and supports within that agency to give them that support. I know it gets difficult when you don't have maybe personal relationships that you can lean on for that kind of support, but they do exist. And I would refer to support coordinator and or support employment supports.
Excellent. All right. So that was amazing. I want to give a big thank you to Rob and Elizabeth. We appreciate this so much. We had great participation. So thank you all so much for being here and participating and being a part of this webinar as well. We put it in the chat, but as always, we will, this is being recorded and we will add this up onto our website and our YouTube so you can watch it going forward. And again, if you have any other questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. And thank you all again so much for being here. I hope you have a wonderful Tuesday.